Hey guys, today we take a look at the aluminum version of the GK64. I already reviewed the GK64 in the past, but this one adds a nice aluminum case and much nicer PVD die-sub keycaps, and we'll also go over how to use the provided software in depth, something I haven't done before, so how to record macros, how to create animations, and much more. They just updated it and it's much more stable than before, so that's a perfect timing for a tutorial. Let's go! So it comes in a premium black box. Mine was sort of crushed in the mail, but the keyboard was intact as it comes in a felt case. You will also get a Type-C cable, a keycap spooler, and a key switch puller. Taking a look at the keyboard, it has a really nice looking case in a space grayish color. The edges are sharp and I think it looks much better than the GK68. It's fairly standard in terms of size and it has a slight angle too. One thing to note is that the screw pattern is not standard, so you won't be able to replace the case with a GH60 compatible one. Under the case you get rubber feet but nothing to adjust the angle, and at the back you get a Type-C port, and that's great. Now to the keycaps, these are really nice for a pre-installed set. They feature a DSA profile, so each row has the same profile, and they might require a bit of time to get used to, but overall they feel really good, and the F and J keys have a deeper dish. So they're easy to locate without looking. They're made from PVD, so super durable and they feel great, and they're pretty thick as well. Finally, the legends are dye sublimated, and this is also a great way to print legends that won't wear out easily. I think the font looks great too, it's pretty clean overall. The only downside maybe is that the accented red keys don't come with neutral replacements, so you're kind of forced to have this theme by default. Now to the layout, it's really close to being ANSI standard. The main differences are the modifier keys at the bottom right corner, which are 1 unit wide instead of 1.25. Otherwise, the right shift key is also only 1 unit wide to accommodate the arrow keys and the delete key. Overall, this is a great layout to have dedicated arrow keys while still keeping a true 60% format. The smaller right shift key is the main difference you'll have to get used to, I think, since it's way smaller than the usual, but other than that, it's a nice layout to use. Finding replacement keycaps won't be as easy as with a standard 60% layout, but there are a few options available, and most large keycap sets will include the few non-standard keys that this layout requires. Now to the switches, this board comes with Gaterons, browns for my unit. You can also order it with Gateron blues and reds, so quite standard. But if they're not what you're into, then you can replace them with what you like, as the PCB has hot swappable sockets. I'm still happy that it comes with decent switches from Gateron, but it's always nice to know that trying out new switches is an easy option. The stabilizers are also pretty good, no complaints from my side. They do wobble a tiny bit, but they come pre-lubed, so they still feel great, and their sound is also quite pleasant. You also get a nice metal plate that matches the case's colors, and that's a nice touch that really helps making it look great. Now I'll leave you to a sound test. Typing on this keyboard is great. The combination of great keycaps, great switches, and decent stabilizers is really nice. I didn't get perfectly used to that layout, especially the right shift key, but it's probably just a matter of time. As for the lights, the PCB has SMDs soldered under each switch socket, and they're really vibrant. The lights shine bright and the colors look amazing. You do get a few light effects on board, but you also get many other light effects using the software, and you can even make up your own animations, so that's what we'll do in the following. So the main section is where you can pretty much set up everything. So we'll start with the macro and light effects sections. With macros, you can group them in categories, basically they're folders. Then with the controls at the right, you can add a new macro. And at the bottom, with the play button, you can record the macro you want. The other buttons don't seem to work that great, clicking on them doesn't seem to do anything though. Still, you can record macros and assign them, so it's not too bad. You can also import them or export them if you want. Now to the light effects, there's a bunch of them already available, but you can also create your own or copy an existing one and modify it. By clicking the edit button, you'll have access to all the frames, and for each frame, you'll have to define which key should light up. The frames tell which key to actually light up at which time, so if you want all keys to light up, just add a frame with all keys selected. As an example, for a line-by-line animation, you'd want 5 frames, 1 for each line. Then the effect panel lets you control which section you want to light up with what color. If the key is going to be the same color throughout the animation, you can go with monochrome, otherwise you'll need to go with RGB. Then it will fade between each color, and the parameter seems to affect the time it takes to switch between colors. Now to the main panel, at the left, you'll be able to pick which profile you want to affect. Standard is the one that's not stored on board, but fetched from the driver, and layer 1 to 3 are stored on board. Just under that, you'll find all the functions you can assign to your keys. You can pick from Mac and Windows keys, and then you have a 10 keyless layout, the numpad, media controls, system operations, mouse buttons, and temporary profile or layer switching. So now I'm on layer 1 and I can set arrow keys on WASD on layer 2 and assign my right control key to access the second layer. Once you're done, you can hit save, then apply. As you can see, when I press Ctrl, the light setting of layer 2 shows up, and I have access to arrow keys with WASD, which is pretty cool. Then you can also set your light presets on every profile, all of that from the presets we just built at the previous step. I can also assign some keys to a macro. As an example, I don't use the delete key, so I'll assign a macro instead. And by clicking on use, then save and apply, it will then be attached to that key. Finally, you can switch between profiles with function and Q, W, E, and R. So before ending this video, let's recap. I really like this keyboard. The build quality and customizability is quite amazing. It uses USB Type-C, has hot swappable switch sockets, great PVD die-sub keycaps, and a heavy-duty aluminum case. The typing experience is great, and the stabilizers feel really nice, and it sounds great with that heavy case and plate. The software is much better than before, although it still has some issues here and there, but it's more stable in general. Now to the downsides. It's not QMK compatible, so you're still a bit more limited in terms of customizability. The case is not standard, so you won't be able to replace it with a GH60 compatible case. And the layout is not exactly NC standard either, so you will be a bit more limited in terms of options. Still, this GK64 offers a lot of settings through the software, and I don't think you'll want to replace that great aluminum case anytime soon either. So that's not too much of a problem for me. So that wraps it up for today. Keep in mind that I reviewed the regular GK64 in the past, and it keeps most of the nice features apart from the aluminum case, PVD die-sub keycaps, and maybe a few other things here and there, but otherwise it keeps the same level of customizability and still offers hot swappable switch sockets for pretty much half the price, so I feel like it's an amazing value. So I'll have a link down below in the description to both of these keyboards for you to check out and help the channel at the same time. So hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you leave a like if you did, and if you didn't, just let me know why down below. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe if you still haven't already, as I'll see you in the next video.